In the last video, we've learned how to build an interactive map showing live data from our network. In this lesson, we're going to be adding icons that are going to show us visually the state of my float switches. So I'm going to start again with a new canvas. So page, new page. Let's rename this. I'm going to name it icons. So as before, the first thing that I'll do is I'm going to add data to my report. So I'm going to bring in data from a digital input sensor, which is connected to float switches. So for those who are not familiar with the digital input sensor, I'm going to quickly explain what it does. So the digital input sensor essentially detects if a device is triggered on or off. In the case of a float switch, it will provide you information on whether the water level has reached the float switch or not. So say I have a tank and I've placed float switches at different levels. Then when the water level is below the float switches, then all of my switches will be in the off position, meaning that my digital input sensor, which is wired to the float switches, is going to read 0 at port 1, port 2, and port 3. When the water level hits the first float switch, then port 1 of the digital input sensor will return 1. When the water hits the second float switch, then both port 1 and 2 will return 1. The same goes when the water level hits the third float switch. Knowing that the data from my digital input sensor returns either 0 or 1, I now want to show this information visually on my report. So let's head back into our report. Let's add in the real-time node data from our digital input sensor. So I'm going to go ahead, add data, search for Smartrek here, click on the connector, and select real-time device data. Select next. Enter the account ID and the API key. Click on next. Select the digital input device. So I believe it's this one. Click on next. And then choose the dimension. Yep, so this is a digital input device. I'm just going to select all ports. Like so. And I'm going to click on add. And add to report. Now I'm going to show you that we can add community created charts. So charts that are not provided and maintained by Google. Up until now, we've always added charts from the Add a Chart button here. But this time, we're going to click on the Next button here. So if I hover over the button, it says Community Visualization and Components. Click on the button, and we get a few featured community charts. We're going to click on Explore More, and we're going to scroll down a bit. And we're going to select this one, Material Design Icon. Since this is a community chart, we have to grant access to our report. Click on Allow and click anywhere on the canvas to place the chart. So what we're seeing is just some random icon, and we'll want to customize that to show a switch in the on state or off state. So let's go ahead and change the look of the icon. Click on the icon and then on Style. Now we can click on Choose from the list. And I have a bunch of icons available, but not the one that I want. So first, let's discuss what those icons actually are. So as the name of the chart suggested, this is a chart that uses Google Material Design icons, which are a set of icons that Google provides that you can add anywhere. So let's open up our browser and search for Material Design icons. Click on the first link here. It's fonts.google.com/icons. And scroll down. As you can see, there are hundreds of icons available here. So now let's search for our switch button. So I like this toggle on and toggle off button. So click on it. So this panel opens up, and what we need is we need to grab the icon ID, which is here. So click on copy. Then I'm going to head back into my report, and I'm going to paste in the icon ID here. It worked. So now I have my toggle on button. Let's make it a little bit smaller, like so. And let's make a copy of it. So Control C, Control V. That didn't work. Oops, pasted at the same place. Control C, click anywhere, Control V. There you go. Great, so now I'm going to add conditional formatting to it. So I want my icon to show a toggled off icon when my port 1 is 0. So I'm going to click on the first icon, and I'm going to change the ID to toggle off. Because if we go back here, click on toggle off, that's the ID. Let's also change the color to gray. Then what do we want? Well, we want this icon to be shown only if the value of port 1 is 0. So I want to hide this icon if its value is higher than 0.5. So hide icon if matrix is above the value 0.5. Let's also edit our second icon here. Let's change the color to red, like this. And we want this icon to be shown only if the value of port 1 is 1. So we want to hide it if the value is below 0.5. So let's change that, and it's gone. That's great. So now let's add a label. I'm going to insert a text box right on top here, and I'm going to write a float 1. Maybe I can move this around like this. All right, so let's copy the icons and repeat the steps for float 2 and 3. I'm copying, pasting, and let's change the titles right away. This is going to be float 2, and this one is going to be float 3. So let's change the metric. So for this one, I want it to take the value of port 2. Same goes for the toggle on button. And the same goes for port 3. I'm going to try, oops, nope, here. And here. Let's just quickly verify that we did the right thing. Port 2, port 1, and port 1. So all done. So now what we can do is we can place them on top of each other. No, it's not really easy, but I'm gonna try to do it. Like so. So that's great. We're essentially done here. Now my float is unfortunately all in the off position right now. But you're going to see that if one of the float switch toggles to on, this icon here is going to change to a red icon, and it's going to change to the toggled on button. So I'm not going to add port 4, 5, and 6. You get the point. It's pretty much the same thing. So in the next video, we'll learn how to calculate a pump runtime using calculated fields, and we'll add some nice charts to the report at the same time.